Aries, welcome to your monthly horoscope for March 2024. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in this video, I will be going over all of the significant energies for the month of March. I have selected a chart for each week to give you a bit of a visual. So let's get right into the energy. Also, don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. So before we get into the charts, as you can see on the screen, I have a chart on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side, I have listed the transits. Now, you always want to take into account any personal planets or points that's in your own personal birth chart to see if you're having any personal activations, especially for you Aries in that first house, in the first house, having the North Node. Um, and also us coming into eclipse season, which we will get into. So, I want to touch on some significant energies that have taken place coming into the month of March. As we come into the month of March, we're coming off of the dynamic Venus Mars conjunction that took place in your 11th house. Now, Mars is your chart ruler, Venus rules your 7th house of relationships. So, there's a lot going on with relationships right now, especially having the nodes there, karmic relationships, people coming back from the past, or having to release and let people in your life go because they're just no longer in alignment. And that is what the South Node in the 7th house is going to bring up for you over this year, which really started mid 2023, especially in October when we had our very first solar eclipse in Libra, which we're going to get into once we get to the lunar eclipse that is taking place this month in Libra in your 7th house. So we'll touch on all those energies. But with this Venus Mars conjunction that just took place in February, there may have been a lot, coming to the surface with that energy. And you also have a lot of energy in your 12th house, which can be a little bit difficult. The 12th house suppresses energy. And sometimes when we have the sun transiting our 12th house, we can feel energetically depleted, where we have a hard time kind of getting that motivation. And Mercury too, Mercury ruling the mind and mindset and thinking and, thought processing. And so it could be a difficult time having the sun and Mercury kind of transit Pisces. But what we did have the last week of February, just before coming into the month, we had the Mercury Cazimi with Saturn in your 12th house. And this really could have been karmic endings for you when it has to do with a mindset, when it has to do with self-sabotaging, getting in your own way. Those are all these 12th house energies. And Saturn transiting your 12th house until 2026 is already really having you become more responsible and accountable for your self-sabotaging tendencies, even addictions, right? Where you can get in your own way. Now, the 12th house can also rule things and places that are hidden. So there can be a lot showing up that was once hidden, maybe even subconsciously. There's a lot of karmic energy, taking place right now. And this could even be, energy of reprogramming the subconscious. But either way, Saturn rules karma, the 12th house rules karma, Pisces rules karma. There's a lot of karmic energy that we're all moving through, especially for you because it's that 12th house. And I really feel like there is something completing here. There's something finishing. There's karmic cycles ending with that transit. And I just wanted you to be aware of that. And it's a great thing, and for you, it really can be karmic cycles of self-sabotage, self-undoing, where you can get in your own way, maybe even mentally, because of that Mercury energy. And so another thing that I want to note, which we'll also get into, is we're going to be starting our new year, our astrological new year this month in March. On March 19th is when we have the sun entering Aries, which we'll talk about in this forecast. But this is a great month coming into the month to decide what intentions you want to set for the year ahead. I know we say January 1st is, the first day of the year, but really the first day of the year is at that 0 degree point of Aries and your Aries rising. And so this is really a great time for you to set intentions for your goals and whatever it is that you want to accomplish for 2024 and into 2025. And I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. And we'll talk more about those energies as we kind of go through the forecast. So let's get into the chart. So on March 1st, we are still in that sun sextile to Jupiter, which we've been in, right? We've been in this, which is nice because with all the Saturn energy, or sorry, that was Sun sextile Jupiter. I thought it was Saturn. We are still in the Saturn Jupiter sextile pretty much. But the sun in your 12th house sextile, I was thinking of the Saturn Jupiter sextile. Anyways, the sun sextile Jupiter is great because this is when we can really have some beautiful insight. So, coming into March, especially with kind of all of the other energies taking place, because there's a lot of density, there's a lot going on in that 12th house, but you do have, this beautiful support from Jupiter. And what this shows, even Jupiter transiting your second house, is this can really have to do with your beliefs and your values and leaning on your beliefs and values to get you through whatever it is that you're currently navigating. Now, on the first, we also have Venus forming a sextile to Chiron. Now, Chiron is in your first house, and we just finished that Chiron North Node conjunction. They were exact for about 2 weeks. I did talk about that in my previous forecasts. And this is where we were all really doing some deep inner healing. And so with Venus forming the sextile to Chiron, there really can be an amazing opportunity here. And support from individuals in your life because Venus rules that seventh house, and Venus also rules your second house of your values. And again, that Jupiter energy. So there's a lot here around values, beliefs, and possibly relationships, and even leaning on those in your life to kind of help you navigate kind of whatever is going on for you right now. Now, March 2nd, we're going to have Venus forming a square to Uranus. And this is where something very unexpected can show up. And this is just before we're going to have Mars square Uranus as well, because we have Venus and Mars moving quite close together. So Venus is going to form a square to Uranus. And then on the 8th, Mars is going to form a square to Uranus. Now, Mars being your chart ruler, Venus being your seventh house ruler, which is your relationships, they're really, from the 2nd to the 8th, and even maybe, a little bit before and after, because sometimes these energies, we can feel the buildup to them. There can be something very unexpected going on with finances, because Venus also rules that second house of finances. So there might be something that you're having to navigate with money, finances, material possessions. So you do want to be watching your spending at this time. There might be, an unexpected bill coming up, but this can also have to do with relationships because Venus rules that seventh house. So there could be something very unexpected showing up with you and a partner, something that you're having to navigate with a partner. So, something to just kind of, be cautious of with that energy. The chart that I selected for the first week was the Mars square to Uranus because this is quite dynamic. This is something that we will feel collectively. And this could be a time where even just you yourself are feeling very, I would say unstable, but and it could have to do with your energy. Like maybe you're feeling like your energy is just off with that 12th house energy and then Mars squaring Uranus. Like there's no stability energetically and mentally at the moment. Like you're having a hard time kind of focusing. But it can also have to do with, something very unexpected that you're having to address, again, financially or with relationships. Now, also on the 8th, we're going to have Mercury forming a conjunction to Neptune and the Sun sextile Uranus. And so there's quite a lot going on the 8th with that Mars square to Uranus and the Mercury conjunct Neptune, which is really making things a bit challenging because Mercury rules our mind and thought processing. And this is where we can be very illusionary. We can be dealing with deceptiveness. We can be, Neptune can sometimes over idealize or romanticize situations. And this could have to do with relationships for you because there is so much relationship energy right now. It could have to do with money and finances. It could have to do with you self-sabotaging. So you do want to be careful at this time of not, wanting to cope with drugs, alcohol, or all of those, kind of self-soothing negative ways because if that's something that you struggle with, it could become, really intense at this time. So just be careful. Now, with Sun sextile Uranus, I love when the sun connects to Uranus in a positive way because the sun literally is our life force energy, our consciousness, and Uranus rules the electrical systems in our body. So this is giving us kind of this energetic insight in a sense. Um, but it is Uranus. So again, it could feel like an anxiety. There could be some anxiety on this day. So, the 8th is a little bit of a difficult day to kind of navigate. Now, on the 9th, we're going to have Mercury entering Aries, and this is really going to help with your mindset and thinking and kind of getting back to normal. Having Mercury in that 12th house, again, it's like hard to focus. It suppresses energy, right? That 12th house suppresses energy. So having Mercury entering Aries, where there's more motivation, there's more forward movement, there's wanting to initiate more and kind of set ambitions and goals and all of that. So that's really nice for you. You're starting to kind of have some of this energy in the 12th exit and enter your first. So as we end that, first week of March, I feel like you're starting to feel back to normal. You're starting to get that motivation back and kind of wanting to implement new things and initiate and all of that stuff and your mindset, you're feeling better mentally. Now on the 10th we have our new moon in Pisces and Mercury sextiling Pluto. So the new moon in Pisces is in your 12th house, and I will post a separate video going into this energy. But with this new moon in Pisces, this is what really initiates eclipse season, because on the full moon is when we will have our lunar eclipse in Libra, which we'll get into later on in this forecast. But Pisces, this is when, we really start to enter eclipse season. So you want to think back to October. What has been showing up for you around relationships, because you have this south node in the 7th house of relationships, and the south node can mean that somebody is coming back from the past. Maybe an old karmic partner is coming back into your life or did come back into your life back in October. This can also mean that you're having to release and let people go in your life. That south node indicates releasing and letting go, or something coming back from the past. So there's more to the story now showing up with whatever was initiated back in October of 2023. So again, we'll talk more about this later on in this forecast, but this new moon in Pisces is when you start to feel the buildup to what this lunar eclipse is going to bring. So you want to start kind of paying attention to what is showing up for you, especially around relationships at this time. Now, when Mercury forms a sextile to Pluto, there can be some really powerful insight, transition, transformation taking place. Mercury is in your first house, making that sextile to Pluto here in your 11th. So there's something really transforming, possibly with your mindset and how you connect to other people. Venus and Mars are still in Aquarius in that 11th house as well. So there's definitely something very powerful. There could be a powerful opportunity showing up for, groups, associations, and people that you're kind of connected to. Now, once we get to the second week, there's not a lot going on really. On March 11th, we have Venus entering Pisces, and this is going to be with Saturn. So I think this is quite significant. Venus does extremely well in Pisces. She's exalted in Pisces. And so this is a great placement for Venus, but Saturn is there now. And so this is a transit that we haven't felt for roughly 30 years, because it takes Saturn about 29 years to transit the zodiac. And so this is an energy that, and that's another thing with that kind of with the conjunction that we had with the Sun, Mercury, and Saturn here, is that could have been ending a 30-year cycle that you've been moving through, with this energy. But with Venus entering your 12th house, this could mean difficulties with relationships or money at this time, because again, it's that 12th house. It suppresses energy. The 12th house also can indicate endings. So there can be something ending around finances or something ending around a relationship relationship, but not always. I mean, it can indicate that, but it can just mean too that maybe there's just a lot going on internally with relationships that maybe you're reflecting on. But also because Saturn is here, there can be this form of commitment tied into relationships, if that makes sense. So it's almost like there's something ending, but there's something beginning in a sense. Like you're really deciding on if this is something you want, if you're done with it. And so it's really, really interesting. But I do think that as Venus approaches Saturn, and we will eventually have the Venus Saturn conjunction, that can mean commitment or a final ending to a relationship. Now, on March 16th and 17th, we will have the Sun conjunct Neptune. So, this is really great for intuitive insight, intuition. But you do want to watch at this time for self-undoing, self-sabotaging, over-idealizing situations, not seeing things clearly. Now, once we get to week 3 in March, on the 18th, we have Mercury forming a conjunction to the North Node. And when Mercury reaches 15 degrees, which is right here where the North Node is sitting, Mercury enters pre-shadow. So Mercury is going to station retrograde on April 1st. So March is also the last month that we have all planets direct. On the 1st, we're going to have Mercury station retrograde in Aries, and then actually Mercury will station direct on that North Node at 15 degrees, which is around which is crazy. I find that so interesting. But you want to start paying attention to what is showing up for you around your mindset, your way of thinking, your mentality, all of that. Once Mercury starts to enter pre-shadow, because these are themes that you will be revisiting while Mercury stations retrograde, and then post shadow is when you have resolutions coming in to whatever it is that you're kind of rethinking in this area. And this is in your first house. So this really can have to do with you and your new direction, whatever it is you're trying to initiate at this time, the changes that are taking place with the North Node being in your first house, just, for the entire year. On April 8th is when we have the solar eclipse in Aries, and that's going to be very significant. And we'll get into that next month. But there's a lot going on here that you're rethinking about what you want and what you now desire and how you've changed and how you want to implement that into your physical reality. Now, on the 19th and 20th, depending on your time zone, the Sun is going to enter Aries, and this is when we start the brand new zodiacal new year. So this is a great time to set intentions for yourself, to do a vision board, to figure out what your goals are for the year. And really implement that, especially for you, Aries, because it's in your first house. On the 20th, we will have Mercury conjunct Chiron. So there can be, something around healing taking place. There can be something that you're navigating with a healing direction and what has shown up for you, especially with that North Node Chiron conjunction. There can be, more to that story when Mercury forms a conjunction to Chiron. But we also want to remember that Mercury is going to retrograde over Chiron. So again, there's something with healing and figuring out, how to heal, how to move forward, and, something along those lines. On the 21st, we're going to have the Venus conjunction to Saturn. And that is when, there can be something very karmically ending, beginning, commitment, when it has to do with relationships, when it has to do with money and finances. I really feel like this has to do with relationships for a lot of you. There can be a final releasing and letting go. Again, this is right near the Libra lunar eclipse, which is a culmination period of whatever was started back in October. So, apply this to your life and kind of fit it in how it kind of applies to your life, because we're all kind of moving through these things differently. But this can just be even a next level of commitment, or a realization, something karmically ending, something karmically, there's something very significant going on here with relationships. the whole month of March. And then on for you, because of the Libra energy. And then for the 20th, and then on the 22nd, we're going to have Mars enter Pisces. And again, this can start to add to more of that energy of feeling depleted, not having a lot of energy, because Mars rules our motivation, willpower, and drive naturally. But Mars is also your chart ruler. And sometimes when we have the sun or our chart ruler in the 12th house transiting, we can feel a little energetically depleted. But what I do think helps you with this is the fact that you have the sun and Mercury in your first house, which is counterbalancing some of that energy. So I do love that. So there can be a little bit of a back and forth, one day feeling great, the next day feeling depleted. And again, we want to watch for any self-sabotaging, self-undoing behaviors, tendencies, patterns, because it is that 12th house. Now, once we get to week 4, on the 25th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Libra. And this lunar eclipse is taking place on, hold on, let me just check. The full moon lunar eclipse is at 5 degrees of Libra. I'm just checking my notes here. So it's going to be here. So you do want to check your ascendant and descendant points to see how close that eclipse is to your descendant. But either way, this is affecting your relationships, and whatever story began back in October, whatever was initiated back in October, this is a culmination point. This is something coming to fruition. This can be also something finalizing, ending, completing. So it's quite interesting. It's that South Node is also in conjunct, Saturn and Venus. So there can be something even psychological that you're kind of navigating here with relationships and commitment and, stuff like that. But this is where whatever started back in October, there is something here. There's more to the story showing up. We're not finished. We're not done. Because I always talk about when the nodes transit the signs and we have the eclipses, every time we have an eclipse, there's like more energy coming into the story that is playing out with this whole eclipse journey in these signs. And so there's more to the story. This may be a final finishing, this may be a final completion, but we're also going to have another eclipse in the fall. So keep that in mind as we're kind of, talking about these energies. But I did just want to mention that the new moon solar eclipse was at 21 degrees here in October. Conjunct the South Node at 24 degrees. So that is also interesting too. That could have really brought somebody back from the past, or that could have been a final release and letting go of someone that you no longer want to be connected to or want in your life and your experience. Now, on March 27th, we have Venus forming a sextile to Uranus. And so this can be, some beautiful opportunity showing up. There could be some support. There can be, this can have to do with money and finances because Venus rules your second house. But this can also have to do with something very unexpected showing up around a relationship and partnership and whatever it is that you're moving through, for this entire month around relationships. There can be something sextiles bring in support and opportunity. And so you do have to take action with sextiles. It's not just something that kind of flows in, but there is, an opportunity here. Okay, Aries, I hope this helps you navigate the energies for the month of March. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content, and I will connect with you all in the next one.